Welcome to another episode of the Brown Couch Bros, your go-to Detroit sports podcast.
That's right. I'm your boy Jess, a.k.a. A-Game. We're here to bring the latest and the greatest from the D, the 313.
And it's your boy, The Loaf, ready to dive right into the heart of Detroit sports with two of my guys, the Honcho and the A-Game.
Lions, Tigers, Pistons, Red Wings, PSL Sports, Michigan State, we got you covered.
We'll break down the games, analyze the stats, and give you the hot takes that you didn't know you needed.
Plus, we bring you some amazing guests, legends of the game, Detroit historians, here to share their insights and stories.
So grab a seat on the couch, kick back, and let's get into the action.
Here we go.
Welcome to another episode of the Brown Couch Bros.
Brown Couch Bros, man, it's Saturday. Normally we try to get down on Sunday, but it's Saturday, man, so different feel. Different feel.
Brown Couch Bros, man, everything is changing, weather and everything, so we ready to go.
Well, we got a guest today. Actually, it's our 50th episode. Number 50. Give it up for the Brown Couch Bros.
Brown Couch Bros got 50.
And we actually got our first guest, our first ever guest, back for our 50th episode, Rico Beard. We'll introduce him in just a minute, but before we do, in customary fashion for our 50th episode,
always gotta tip it off.
Let's toast up. Let's toast it up. Double shot of water there. Double shot of H2O.
There you go.
All right, so let's tip it off. 50 episodes, man.
Y'all
50
ain't
episodes.
kidding. I can smell the alcohol.
Hey, like one of my frat brothers say, don't tell all our business. Shout out to Leonard Cry.
Well, that's right, man.
You can smell the alcohol.
Hey, we on our 50th, man, and this is a beautiful thing. I kind of tried to do a little Kendrick Lamar myself, represented with the 25th anniversary Grand Hills. When I came on the show as a co-host, it was episode number 25. So from 25 on up, congratulations to 50. We got our first guest back on the show. Glad of that. It's kind of all symbolizes, man. It all comes back full force. So I'm ready for it, man. I love this. Let's go with it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm glad to just to be here, man. 50 episodes. It came quick. We went through COVID. We stopped doing COVID.
Yeah.
We started before COVID, kind of like, and we still around, man. We like to thank all our supporters out there. Subscribe, keep liking the Brown Couch Bros, and we're gonna keep bringing you guys great content, great guests, and we're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah, man. 90% of podcasts don't make it to 50 episodes.
Wow.
So we are in about the 10th percentile of podcasts. So congratulations to us, man. Thank you for all the guests and supporters who supported our show. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing, and we're going to keep bringing you quality content. Just like today. Just like today. But before we introduce our guests, and I'm sure our guests will want to chime in on this, this week in sports, tragically, we lost Hank Gathers back in 1990. Lost his life on the court, man, playing for the Loyal and Marymount. And, he and Bo Kimball were definitely a force to be reckoned with back then, man. But lost Hank Gathers, collapsed, cardiac arrest on the court. And so, obviously, rest in peace to Hank Gathers and really shout out to his career. I can remember Bo Kimball's tribute to Hank Gathers once he made it to the NBA. Actually, right before during the NCAA tournament. Yeah, he would shoot his first free throw left-handed in remembrance of his brother in arms, Hank Gathers.
It's amazing how technology and just how medical minded we are now, because he would probably still be alive today if that was to happen with this technology we have with the defibrillators and just on site emergency personnel. So once again, shout out to the great Hank Gathers, and may he rest in peace.
Man, the shape that man was in too, man, that's what really surprised me about the whole episode. It was like, man, he had 10% body fat, if that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He looked like he was in a pillar of great health, man. And for that to happen, it was shocking and surprising. But I mean, we've had other
Reggie
shocking.
Lewis.
Yeah, Reggie Lewis
Yep.
played ball. You know, so we had some others, man, but you know, just to see that, man, just puts a whole game and life in perspective, man, when you see that.
Yeah, you know whose other career cut short was Monty Williams, Pistons old coach. He's at Notre Dame. They found the same thing with him.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying.
And Notre Dame was just like, you done.
Shut him down.
Yeah.
You can't
Wow.
play no more. Yeah, this happened around that same time.
Oh, I didn't know
Wow.
that.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
I think it was like a year or so later. He played for Notre Dame. They shut it down. So yeah, you had Reggie Brown. You had a lot of players like that. Where I remember, I mean, he was at the free throw line. He was getting ready to shoot it, and he was like stumbled a little bit, gathered himself, and then he just bam hit the ground, and it was like you didn't really know what you was watching. Like
Yeah.
nothing happened. Nobody hit him. It wasn't a foul. You didn't realize that, you know, that this was it. You saw this man's last moments of life on this earth.
On that court.
Play out right there.
Yeah,
On
it
the
took
court.
right there on the court with something so small as a free throw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Reggie Lewis was dribbling the ball up the court, and he just started stumbling, and
Yep.
boom.
Yeah. I mean, and at the top of his career, I mean,
Yeah.
Reggie Lewis was ready to soar. I mean, he was going to be a part of that
He
next
is
group
what
right after
Tatum
Bird.
is now.
Right.
Yep.
Right after Bird, Parrish, and McHale, Reggie Lewis was going to be that next guy.
Yep. He was
Really,
the
he
building
and D
block.
Brown on that team. And Hank Gathers obviously was going to be a first round draft pick. You know, slated to have a great NBA career, but cut short because of medical conditions. His heart failed. So, Webb, so introduce our guest.
Hey, man, once again, man, we always trying to bring back bangers. You know, it's few and far between when you have a friend that you grew up with. You know, a lot of guys, when they grew up with their guys that are 15, 16 years old, you know, you grew up with a guy. I've been knowing Rico since we were 9, 10 years old, man. Southwest Detroit, born and raised. Southwest Detroit baseball. We played on the Little League baseball team together. Coach Cranford, the Cobras, Brian Jones, those guys, James Coyne. We had a good team, man. We had a good squad. Fred out there in Las Vegas. So
Fred Hogan.
Yeah, Fred Hogan. Yep. So once again, lifetime friend, man. We've been knowing each other 45 years. I know I'm telling your age. Happy birthday to you. Coming up Wednesday. Give you a shout out now. Happy birthday. But 97 won the ticket. Michigan State alum. Been around the city, been around the state, around the country, really. Everybody know who he is, Mr. Rico Beard.
I appreciate that, Dan.
Yeah.
Man,
You owe me some money.
I feel the love, and I'm not even a cute.
I forgot one more thing. Alpha man.
I'm not even a cute, so
Well, you know, we don't discriminate on this show.
man.
No, we don't discriminate on this show.
Yeah,
Sometimes we got to
okay.
show love to the alphas. It's all
we
good.
discriminate. Yes.
Say, speak for yourself.
But yeah, man, glad to have you back. Matter of fact, our first guest. This is our 50th episode. He was our first guest. So hey, I appreciate you here for the 50th, brother.
Well, I appreciate that too. And you know what? Real quick, I want to going back to what we were just talking about the Hank Gathers thing. I've often said it's the reason why Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, because it was all, like everybody who would have been his natural enemy on the court died off.
Len Bias.
Len Bias.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah.
Reggie. Yeah,
Reggie
you know,
Lewis?
Hank Gather, Benji, the kid from Chicago that got shot.
Ben Wilson.
Ben Wilson.
Ben
Wilson.
Like,
Yeah.
that would have been like that would have been his magic bird type of thing, but they all end up passing away.
Wow.
And it was just him and Barkley. That's it.
Yeah.
So
That's
Well-
a good point. I never thought about that.
Well, for sure, Len Bias.
right, because Len
I mean, for sure, Len Bias was a threat. I mean, he was really LeBron without the handle and the outside shooting.
And think of it, Boston would have been all that because they would have went from Bird, McHale to Len Bias,
Reggie
Lewis.
Yeah, they was reloading. They was just reloading on the fly.
Yeah, they were. They were. They tried to do what Golden State tried to do.
Right. So, but it was
years
actually,
ago,
so I often said, if everything would have worked out, Jordan may not have had these rings. We wouldn't be talking about he was the greatest of all time. I mean, because imagine if Magic had no Bird, Magic would have 9 or 10 rings. Well, if Bird didn't have Magic, he would have had 9 or 10 rings.
Yeah,
And we would have been talking about he's the greatest. Well,
Yeah.
they just had competition. They had each other.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
You don't
right
have
now.
that with Mike. You don't have that with MJ.
No.
Right. Yeah.
What? No Clyde
It took
Drexler?
about five.
No love
it
for
took
Clyde?
about
No
five
love for
guys.
Clyde?
No love for Clyde. Five slammer jammer. Nah.
It took about 5 guys to compete against Mike, those Pistons. So I don't know. You know, Mike is Mike.
Yeah, man.
And we're gonna talk about that later on in the show in regards to those 89 Pistons. But you're right, Rico. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Interesting. Well, MSU guy. So we definitely want to start off with a little MSU talk. Now we've had conversations about MSU on the show, and we talked a little bit before the show, just about the state of college basketball and how you sort of reference it as sort of like junior college, right? Community college, where every year, I mean, you're essentially having a brand new team. A brand new roster at least. But for MSU, getting ready, gearing up for the NCAA tournament, they're sitting at about the 8th or 9th spot, depending on what polls you're looking at. What do you think the output is going to be for Michigan State? I mean, how far do you think they're going to go in the tournament this year?
I mean, I normally like talking about it once the tournament bracket actually comes out, because I tell people all the time, the NCAA tournament is matchups. Mm-hmm. You can be a great team, but if you match up against that wrong type of team, that's when you see them early round upsets because it's a bad matchup. On the flip side, you see that one team like, they're not that good, but they got good matchups that they can make it all the way through. Yeah. Like I remember in 2019, I was doing a national show, and I told them, because that's when Duke had the big three, RJ and Zion and they was like, and State was in there. I was like, well, Duke's gonna beat them. I was like, I don't think Duke's gonna beat them. And they laughed at me. I was like, I think Michigan, if Duke played Michigan State in that Elite Eight, Michigan State would beat them. And they did, and because it was matchups. Because with those three guys, you wear them down, they get tired. And similar to this year's team, Michigan State had depth. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they wear you down. Just when you finish guarding this guy, fresh legs come in and you like, oh my God, okay, coach, I'm starting to get tired. Yep. That's how they've been doing it. They could probably play with about anybody. It's going to be a close game. It won't be a pretty game, but they're going to just eventually squeeze you out and they can knock you off. Like I think, and once again, they could stop Duke because I think they could put Cohen Carr, athletic, on Cooper Flag and basically say, Cohen, don't score no points today.
That's your guy. Just
make sure you keep him under 14 points, and that's a win.
Well, they don't have to tell Cohen that.
No, but I'm saying, we ain't got to worry about your dunks. Right. We don't need your dunks. We get your dunks later in the game. You don't have to score a point. Just lock him up, shut him down. Or if it's a guard, they tell Jay Nakins, once we got 3 other guards. Your job is to keep him under his average. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, that's how they beat you. Because when they take your star player out the game, it forces your other players to either step their game up or you sitting there looking like, man, that's why the last couple games, nobody scored on them in the final 6 minutes because they all tired, sucking wind. They got nothing left, and they come in with a fresh lineup for the final 4 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can't match that with your bench because they go 11 deep, you're going 7 deep.
Well, I mean, it's a testament really to Izzo's ability to, first of all, keep guys around, to stay with the program, and the style of play. I mean, it's about defense, it's about rebounding, and it's always been about that with Izzo. So they're able to wear teams down.
This is the first time, though, I think, in a long time he got everybody to buy in. Because I can honestly say this team, probably except for one player on the team, I'll leave him nameless, but everybody's buying in.
Yeah.
Everybody realizes, you know what, Webb, today you may get 8 minutes. But that don't mean nothing, because next game you may get 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. It's just when you hot or you doing something, it's your game, and everybody celebrates everybody, okay? It's not like, oh, well, I need to start. I need to do this. And then he stumbled upon a diamond in the rough in Jace Richardson.
Yeah.
Jace wasn't even supposed to be the best freshman. It's this guy, Kurtang.
Yeah, Kurtang.
Kurtang was supposed to be that guy. Jace just got in the game because his father was Jason, and that was cute, and he was there, and Jason was. So he got in the first game, and I remember he scored like 10 points, but it was garbage points. You're like, okay, you know, it looks good on paper, but it did it against nobody. It's funny because it reminded me years ago on the football team when T.J. Duckett got into the game. T.J. Duckett was a linebacker that he begged the coaches, let me get a couple carries. So he got a couple carries late in the game, and it was like, okay, it looks cool, but dude, you're going up against third stringers. All right, so then finally they was like, wait a minute. Maybe we wasted him.
Yeah. We got some here. We got some.
Same with Jace. It was like, okay. And then they finally put him in the starting lineup because Fears got sick and he went out there and had he balled out. And now you see his confidence growing more and more and more that, he's their go-to guy. That was the only thing that they were missing was that one guy you could just kick the ball to. He can make a move, get to the basket. Because other than that, Lord knows they can't hit threes. So they sit there and jack up threes all day, and you're just like, okay, cool. But Jason's like, give me this ball. Watch what I can do. You could tell that he's played with his old man and some of his old man's friends because his game is more advanced than the average 18-year-old. You could tell that they didn't take it easy on him. You could tell. They slapped his stuff across the street and was like, you got to come better than that, son.
You know what? It's almost like that Willie Pitt theory. You don't know the story about Willie Pitt. You know, he was the first baseman to play for the Yankees, but he took a day off, and they let Lou Gehrig in the lineup, and the rest is history. He played over 2,000 games, and the same thing with Jace. It's like, I just think I read a stat the other day where I think he leads the team in minutes now, right? Minutes played.
Yeah, he does.
Per game. So to your point, man, with the depth that Michigan State does have this year, and like you said, I think everybody's buying in to Izzo's system, and you touched on it before, rebounding and defense. That's, pretty much that wins championships. Same thing in pro football. You win the game in the trenches.
Defensive rebounding. If you could do that, they can match up with anybody in the tournament, whether it's Auburn, whether it's Alabama, because everybody's got a different style. Alabama likes to shoot threes and dunk the ball. But if you could lock them up and keep them from shooting threes and only make them dunk the ball, you can beat them. So they got a chance in any game. Their thing is just don't do anything stupid. And then, because Izzo likes to say, if you can win the first game, I can get you to the second game, meaning he's the master of the second game, the one-day turnaround. His record, I mean, it's like something ridiculous where don't quote me on this, but he's like 13-3 in that one game turnaround after you win that first tournament game. Now we sit in the hotel room. He got you beat. Like before you step on the court, he's already figured what you gonna do next. But and the other thing about State is, because I asked Purdue's coach, Matt Painter, how do you guard? How do you, when you go to the whiteboard, what do you do against a team that has no star? And he was like, that's a great question, because like normally you could say, okay, Duke, stop Cooper Flagg, blah, 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 blah. Alabama, stop Sears, do this, blah, blah, blah. Michigan, who you putting up there? Okay, now I guess you say stop Jace, but if you stop Jace, you got Holloman who can go out there and score 20 points. You got Akins who can score 20 points. You got all these different people where it's like, the only thing I would just do is I write 4 letters, like zone. Zone. Play zone, make them hit shots.
But it's the gift and the curse, right?
It is.
Because, while you don't have a star and it's difficult to stop you, teams are going to look, once the game gets close at the end, it's like, okay, who's going to take us home?
Be the guy?
And it could be Jace, it could be Holloman, it could be Jay Nakins.
The game would dictate that.
The game would dictate that.
That's how Baylor won their national title that year. Everybody on the team was 6'6" to 6'8". They was all the same player, and it was just like you didn't know each night who was going to be the guy that rises up and beats you.
But the thing is that they're going to have to do just that. Because of all the names, the guys that we just said, none of them stand out to you as a pro or an NBA guy, right? And so at those times,
Jace will probably go into the draft. He'll go into the draft, not to cut you off. He'll go in partly because of what he's doing, partly because of what his father is in the pedigree. And as I stated, look, if he has a good tournament, he ain't gonna grow no taller.
You think Jace will go into the draft this year?
Yeah.
What is
Wow.
that? 6'2"?
Wow.
He's listed at 6.
Wow. Wow.
He's listed at 6.
I like his game. I don't see NBA.
No.
But
But did you see NBA with Jawanski, his son?
Here's
no.
and that's
And that's
he
why
was
he's in the
lottery.
G League, and that's why he's. I mean,
look at the NBA draft.
it's a down
And-
year.
No, the NBA draft used to be out of the 30 teams, 25 of them was on actually playing in the league.
Mhm.
It's now flipped to 5 or 6 actually play,
Yeah.
and you draft the rest and you put them in the because they're not ready.
Yeah, they're not ready.
Nobody's
Not
ready. When you look at the draft, after the 5th, like when the Pistons took the Oscar Thompson, he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
How many years? Well, he did a year in the G League.
If you combine him and his brother, amen, they was a player. But
Once you split them apart.
right, they was like,
This guy-
okay, this guy scores, this guy plays defense together. They would have been a hell of an NBA player if that egg would have stayed together. But it didn't. It split apart. You got twins. One was good here, one was good there. When you look at the NBA draft, after the first couple picks,
But
The
they
rest-
both went 5 and 6, right?
4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Yeah.
They went 4 and 5, and it just tells you like that's how bad that draft was. It's like they weren't the 4th and 5th best players, but they just had athleticism that you gamble on. That's what the NBA does. So, I mean, this year it's a little deeper in the draft, but most of your first round picks, they don't really play their first year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Thompson twins, because of their athleticism, takes them over the top.
Right.
I mean, they can make up for their inability to make an outside shot, their lack of skill level, because they are superior athletes. And that's the NBA game.
Right.
I mean, the two of them can guard 1 through 3, 1
don't
through
get me wrong.
4 in situations. So
We saying the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I'm just saying that the league is going to dictate, son, we're willing to pay you money if you come out right now. So, all right, I may not be ready, but if you're going to give me millions, I'm going to take your millions.
well, he's got to go.
Heck, this is the same league that got Bronny James in it. Okay? And he's nowhere near ready. Bronny James,
Keep my son's name out your mouth.
Bronny James averaged 3 points a game. No, I'm sorry, he averaged like 4.5 points a game at USC.
USC.
Yeah,
USC,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't-
Five,
yeah.
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 And then he got
Those big numbers.
That was his dad.
And he
So
in the league.
Richardson will make it because who his father is, who his father was, and where he came from. That, around pick 20 or so, some team will take him and hope that maybe you got something. But you're right. In the NBA, you only as good as who you can defend.
Yeah.
So for him, he's going to have to go out there and defend Ja. He's going to have to go out there and defend Kyrie. Like, you're only as good as you can defend. And if you can't defend anybody, you're not going to make it in the league.
And he's in that NBA danger zone.
The danger zone. You always say
talked
danger
about.
zone.
We talked
He
about
in
that.
that
6'2",
danger
6'7",
zone.
you say?
Yeah, man. Those are the best players in the game at that height.
Right.
It's going to be tough for the young man. You touched on Izzo a bit, and we've talked about him on the show. I think we can all agree that he needs one more championship to be in the conversation with those greats. What is your opinion on the job? First of all, the job that Tom Izzo has done, but also what do you think he needs to sort of get himself in that next group? I mean, is he chasing
No, he's
Coach
chasing.
K?
No,
I mean, what is he?
He's always going to be chasing Coach K. Coach K, heck, at this point, he's chasing Dan Hurley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
We
Jay
talked about
Wright,
that.
huh?
He's chasing.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's the model. He's like the model of consistency. He's like, okay, always. It's like in football. He's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They always in the playoffs. Not really a threat.
Yeah.
But you could go ahead and pencil the Pittsburgh Steelers to be in the playoffs each and every year.
Yeah.
They may not go far. Now, they had their heydays early on, and it's been a while since they became a serious threat. That's where they are now. And I think when they finally had an opportunity, it was 19 when they had Cassius, and Cassius wore down. Like, people didn't see at the end of every game, Cassius, he was an old man in a young man's body. He looked old as dirt. And every game he had 2 big ice bags, and he had that little Cassius Waddle going to the thing.
Well, he walked like his daddy Reg.
Yeah,
Shout out to Reg.
Shout out to Reg.
Hey, Reg. Right. But Cassius, and you can see it. I mean, I think near the end, it was like almost bone on bone.
Yeah.
Like his knees had wore down because he carried that team so far, literally and figuratively. He carried that team. And then they got to the Final Four, and they played that's what it goes back to luck. They played the wrong team. I think they played Texas Tech, and Texas Tech said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop Cassius. Somebody else got to beat us. Nobody else can hit the shot.
Could do it.
Had they played, now the thing is, the one team that was happiest about that was Virginia. Because Izzo could beat Virginia in his sleep.
Yeah.
But because he didn't play Virginia, he played Tech. Had he beat Texas Tech, they would have won that year because they could have knocked out Virginia easily. Bennett he can't beat them. The 2020 year, we'll never know because COVID stopped everything.
COVID.
They was the hottest. COVID was just like this year. They finished the year red hot. Now imagine if all of a sudden you just stopped this season. You're like, well, dang, Michigan State was knocking off all these ranked teams. What would have happened? That's the big what if. COVID, they came back. And for Izzo, it's just identifying talent and playing the game. I think he was one of the last ones to really want to embrace the transfer game and just playing the game. And with the NIL, like you're going to have to go out there and you're going to have to get some kids who ain't so nice. You're going to have to get some asshole kids. Some kids that's just like, you know what? I ain't here to play school, as Cardale Jones said. I'm just here to get this money.
Plan A guys.
Right.
Yeah,
Plan A guys.
Right. Plan A guys.
And he was reluctant on doing that. And you're seeing that's just kind of been the drawback that they've just been an okay team. I mean, their standard used to be make it to the Final Four. Now it's, can you get out the first weekend? It's lower.
Yeah, man.
And he's got to get a better caliber of players. Like he thought he had that with Xavier Booker, who was the 5-star kid coming in, but Booker ain't lived up to the 5-star. So you got to be able to identify the talent. And now he's kind of pieced it together. It kind of fell all into place. It works. I don't think he knew what he had at the beginning of the season, talking to him, that he thought it was going to work the way it's been working. But
well, let me ask you this. When you're talking about identified talent, we know when we were coming up, all of us, it was always guys around the city, around the state, the Mr. Basketballs of the world. You were like, okay, yeah, this guy can play. This guy going to be a pro. Nowadays, when you say identifying talent, and we talking about high school talent, we talked about that before. Acuff, he left the state. You got the brother over there at what was probably going to win Mr. Basketball.
Trey McKinney.
Trey, yeah. He's going to Michigan.
He's going to Michigan. But I don't know a lot of high school guys is just like that deal. Like, he that deal.
Well, the worst thing that happened to high school, a couple things bad happened to high school sports here in the state of Michigan, my opinion. One was the MHSAA.
Archaic.
Right there.
Archaic.
If I had the bell, I would hit it right now. Archaic, no, because, and I had a long argument. The MHSAA, in their words, is built for the 99%. Basically, all the other kids, they don't, because they feel like the 1%, they're going to get their recognition anyway. They're going to do whatever. I remember back in the day having an argument with somebody when Golston was playing for Southeastern, and he was going to go play in the Under Armour game, but if he played in the Under Armour game, he had to give up his eligibility. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. Why don't you use that to hype it up? Like, here's the thing. If you do this right, some of these other 99% kids may get discovered because I came to see Will Golston, but all of a sudden, who is this guy? And it happens all the time. But they're archaic. They didn't allow them to play teams outside the state. They didn't allow them to do a lot of stuff. And they're so far behind now that if you had a good kid, it's how Cassius won Mr. Basketball. And it's not to say that Cassius wasn't good, but if everybody stayed in state, it would have been Cassius, Miles Bridges, and Josh Jackson. All was in that class.
3 pros.
Right, 3 pros. 2 of the pros left Cassius here, and Cassius had no competition that year. It was his award. Cassius had that award at the opening tip-off of the game. He knew that they were. I don't even think they lost the game that year.
The same thing with Bates, right? Well, when Bates left, That left my man was
Chauncey Willis.
Chauncey Willis at King.
Yeah.
You know,
my son's teammate.
Right,
so, yeah.
right.
So that was the thing, and then football, because I didn't realize that the state of Michigan is like, I want to say the third. They got the most third best people in the NFL, like from the state of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could win a bar bet. I had to look it up because I was like Florida and Texas and California.
That's what I would have did.
Right. Michigan. Michigan's up there. So a lot of kids now are more
Football
focused
state.
on football. So instead of playing high school, you know what? You're doing 707s year round.
Yeah.
You're doing this. You're doing that. And then the other thing, man, is just the ones who do play is just AAU. In my opinion, it's kind of making you soft because there's no toughness, there's no rivalry, there's no, they all friends, they all buddies. So at the end of the game, and you see that in the NBA now, hey, what if we all played together like we did back in the day at AAU, where it used to be, you know what? I hate this school. I hate everything about them. And I knew going over, we battling. We battling. We battling, elbow throwing, like toughness.
Yeah.
You don't get the toughness no more. So now when the coach yells at you, because in AAU, you can't really yell at your player because he'll leave and go to another team. He will. But now, but in high school, what you going to transfer high schools? No, you got to listen to the coach.
Yes.
You got to get a thick skin. And you got to learn how to play through all of that. And I think that's
a lost art right there.
Yeah, but they're leaving high school now.
They're leaving, right.
They're leaving high school.
They're going to play for the fake high schools. And you know what? You got a rich mama or daddy and something, and they go and they form their own school. And the next thing you know, it's 10 people go to that. I remember that Spirey Academy that Rocket Watts went to.
Yeah,
Spire. Yeah. He went to, it was a fake school. The coach left in the middle of the year because he got a better job to do something else. And he just left all them kids there. They show up like, well, where's coach?
It was a football program like that too. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
It was a football program.
So, but Bates did that, and kind of sort of, wanted to touch on that a little bit. Do you think like Izzo not getting Imani Bates probably hurt Imani Bates more than it hurt the Michigan State program?
Yeah.
But
I was actually that was probably the best thing that happened to MSU. They did not get Imani Bates because when it came down to it, if you got Bates, you wouldn't have got Akins. Because they fell out. They fell out.
That thing didn't end well.
It did not end well. They pretty much kicked Jaden Akins off the team. And Jaden Akins was like high school homeless for his senior year. So, because he thought he was going to be on Bates' team, but it was like, this is called Bates Academy. Guess who takes the final shot at Bates Academy? Your last name is not Bates. You do not take final shots.
You don't get the shot. You don't get the
this
shot.
ain't Akins Academy. This is Bates Academy. And I remember, I was just like, I remember telling some of the assistant coaches at the time, like, I know this looks bad. Like, you got the better part of this deal. Now, he goes to Eastern Michigan and, he didn't tear it up. He didn't. I mean, it's not like
Memphis before that.
Memphis first. Yeah, Memphis first.
That was tough, man. That Memphis year was tough to watch.
Right, but I look at Akins and no, because I think had they gotten him, I think it would have probably destroyed the team because you would have been forced to play this kid.
Yeah,
you would have, and you saw like it meant he wasn't ready. He just wasn't, and I don't think that you could have sat there and coached him. Like I don't think his Izzo style would have meshed with him. That was a disaster waiting to happen. Sometimes, because people are like, well, why you go play for this coach? It's like, well, it ain't like you can't Google the coach and see this coach is a jerk. This coach is an asshole. This coach, he yells at you. Like if you walk into Izzo's team,
he's going to yell at you.
If you don't know this, and
it's going up.
The practices are even worse. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
But to a man, all his former players will come back and defend this man. They love this man because they know it's about, it's reproof that he's trying to get you better, and he's old school. He will tell you suck. Okay, go over there. I mean, like some of his practices is like, wow, man, because we can see I'll give him credit. He allows us to sit through all the practices. It ain't no, you can only watch the first 5 minutes. We could watch, he actually built at the Breslin Center, the practice facility, it's like these theater seats for the media to sit and watch. What the only rule is we cannot record or live tweet or live do anything.
Right.
But you can write down everything.
You can't even write down nothing.
Okay.
It's like basically
muscle
it's like,
memory.
Right. It's Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens here stays here.
Yeah.
Right.
But you are more than welcome, because his thing is, I want you to see what goes on in practice.
Yeah.
So you can stop asking me questions or why ain't you doing this? And you like, well, you see he did that.
Yeah.
Oh man, he lets him have it, will blow the whistle and just undress you right there. No respecter of nothing. Like, he'll go after the top dog, which lets the lesser players know if he going after him, I better come correct.
Yeah.
But getting back to that, yeah, his style, he's got to be able to identify. Right now, his biggest problem is he got to find that impact transfer, because in every team now, it's to the point where if I got 4 or 5 scholarships, I may go out and recruit 3 high school kids, but I got to get 2 transfers.
Yep.
Or I get 2 high school kids and I got to get 3 transfers, because I need instant credibility, and then I need some kids who I can groom, like the Trey Holloman's, people who ain't going to leave, and I can actually, like Trey, next year, it's going to be his team.
Right.
Trey Holloman, like, he took the demotion like a man. Was like, hey, I'm going to play Akins over you. You ain't do nothing wrong, but I just think you better. And now Trey, Trey, like, to me, when he's on, he comes off the bench like Vinnie Johnson.
Oh,
like microwave.
I'm comfortable with watching it. Like, I'm comfortable with the ball in his hand.
Right.
Like, I know what he's going to do.
There's no sulking. He's like, okay, I'm in. Cool.
Yeah,
boom,
let's
boom,
go.
Boom.
And he's running the team.
Him, I mean, I'm sure the camera probably wish they wasn't all up in his face against Iowa when you could read his lips saying something like, basically, motherfucker, you my bitch.
Yeah, right.
And they did it real. No, you couldn't hear it. But they showed it, and you could read his lips. And it was very distinct, what he had said. But after that, they went on like a 22-2 run.
Yeah.
He jump-started the team. But he needs that, but he's, in order to get to the Coach K level, he knows, and the thing that drives him crazy is that second title.
Yeah.
He talks about it privately. He wants that thing. He wants that thing like a fish in a leaky bag of water.
He's got to get it.
You got to get it, man, to be legitimized. Well, I'm not going to say legitimize his whole career, but just to.
No, he wants to, because in his world, if you get 2, now you on the executive board.
Yeah.
Not you in the VIP section.
Yeah, right.
Anybody can luck themselves into one.
Get one. Yeah.
But can you get 2? Not a lot of people can say they got 2. And he wants to be one of those guys. And the fact that, I mean, it's the saddest fact, but it's still true. They're the last Big Ten team to win a national title.
Man, that's tough.
So
we're going to talk about that.
Last question on MSU, and you can be quick with this if you want. We know Izzo need another title. We're not sure how many more years he's going to stick around. Is he grooming the next guy? Is it on his staff now, or
I don't think that's
the next guys are gone.
That's
Dwayne,
that's actually
Coach Montgomery over at UD. I mean, he's had a bunch of coaches, assistant coaches. They have their own programs now. So
it's only one guy.
Actually, the funniest thing.
Who, Mateen?
Nah.
You don't think so?
Nah,
okay.
I don't think Mateen would want to do the coaching. Nah, I don't. Because it takes a lot to do that.
Who was your one guy? What you was about to say?
No, it's funny because before we actually did this, I was on the phone with somebody and we was talking about the next coach at Michigan State, because he was saying he would think probably Shaka Smart. He would just bring him in. Because for me, I think the worst thing that they could do, open it up to everybody. Don't be the whole, that's what's Indiana's problem.
It got to be a Michigan State man.
Right. It's Indiana, like Michigan. It's got to be a Michigan. Indiana. It's got to go back to Bob Knight. It's like, sometimes if you open it up like Alabama did in football, Nick Saban had nothing to do with Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
And he brought his own thing in there and he started to win. Don't limit yourself, I guess is what I'm saying. So give Dwayne Stevens a shot. Give Mark Montgomery a shot. Give all these guys a shot. Look at them. Look at Drew Valentine, who's at Loyola Chicago. But then there's also other young coaches that you may want to take a look at and see if it works. Now, following him up, man, you're going to have a short runway because if you ain't winning, it's going to be, well, Tom did this, Tom would have did that. So not like those. For me, the one coach that mostly, and you got to be a real basketball head to know, but Ben Johnson, and not the Alliance old offensive coordinator, but the Minnesota head coach, Ben Johnson. Yeah. The reason why I like him, because I said if he ever gets fired, if I'm Izzo, I hire him as an assistant right away. That man gets the most with nothing. Minnesota gives him nothing to work with, and every year Minnesota's a beast. You gonna beat them, but they scrap. He could get the most out of these lesser players. And like, imagine what happens if you gave him the Ishbia money, if you gave him that Rock Financial money, if you let him have the millions, that Dan Gilbert type of stuff. Now all of a sudden, he could bring in some better players and coach. If he could coach the better players the way he coaches his players, like I said, I know I'm in the minority, but I look at this guy and I'm like, I'm telling you that whoever gives him a chance, they will not regret it.
Well, let's move on to some Lions talk real quick. We talked a little bit before the show started, but what do you think the Lions' offseason priorities should be, both in the draft and in free agency? Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett.
Well, no. Actually, no. And I'm gonna say, there's a reason why, because something that just recently happened with Myles Garrett. Keep an eye on Myles Garrett, but ain't nothing. I don't think nothing's gonna happen. The owner
didn't want to sit down and meet.
I forgot the owner's name, but the owner said,
Haslam.
Yeah, Haslam. Haslam was like, yeah, go see him. Don't come to me. Go see don't go straight to the CEO. Go see your district manager first. You don't come straight to me.
This protocol. Right.
Right.
Steps you got.
That's basically saying, he let him tell you no. I'm not telling you no, but no. You ain't going nowhere. That's bad for my business. Myles Garrett has enough money. Myles Garrett can sit. He can sit out a year. And honestly, at 29, rest your body. You can come back. He'll still be the same Myles Garrett. But just refresh. He can do TV. He'll make his money. But he knows that. He knows his work.
I don't think it's going to get to that point, but I get what you're saying. Right.
Around week 4, week 5 of the season, him sitting out, they're going to have to make a trade. At that point, Cleveland will be desperate, and that's when you swoop in. That's when you say, we'll give you our first round pick next year. We'll give you this. You ain't going to have to pay as much. I would look at Trey Hendrickson, and maybe go that route. From Cincinnati. Maybe go that route. No, because I think Bosa's going to end up with San Francisco, because Bosa would take a pay cut to go play with his brother.
Right.
Brad Holmes does not need to bring in another injured player as a free agent. That was the downfall last year. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa sounds great on paper, and I think he's played 36 games in the last 4 years.
That's crazy.
Okay?
That's crazy.
So, no. That's just a big no.
Khalil Mack.
I would go with Khalil Mack.
I like
Khalil Mack for 1-2 year deal. Yeah. But go after D-line. That's your top priority is D-line and O-line. Don't get any toys. And by toys, I mean
DBs, receivers.
Right. The people, the further away from the ball you are, leave them people alone. You want the people closest to the ball. In the draft, honestly, first pick, second round selection, and the third round selection would all be D linemen. This draft is deep in D linemen.
And edge rushers, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just D linemen across the board. So you can get, Detroit's Derek Harmon. You can bring him here at pick 28. You're like, there's going to be so many people available that I'm going to take my chances in draft 3. And let's hope that just one, if you draft 3, one turns out to be great, one turns out to be good, one turns out to be average. You did your job. You got depth. Now you got something, because here's the other thing. I don't know what Hutchinson's going to be when he comes back.
Yeah, we keep
acting like it's a video game and he comes back.
I don't think he's coming back as the old Hutch. His injury,
See, I can't say that because I'd be accused of being a Spartan.
His injury, I don't see him coming back being the old Hutch. I think it's gonna take some time for him to round into form. I think we'll know what we got from Hutch come week 8 to 10.
We got to figure it out before then.
I don't disagree.
But that's what I said.
But that's why you go in the draft, or that's why you go in free agency and get you some.
You get that guy
help.
so that he becomes second. He's your second best.
I don't think this year is the year we see Hutch back in shape and form.
He shattered both bones.
Man,
and it's not just the physical, it's the mental of being able to plant that leg, put torque on that leg without thinking about that break. When people pop their Achilles, they always say the Achilles healed up a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It's the trust factor.
It's the mental.
It's like, you're afraid to do anything because you remember how painful it was and all the rehab you went through. You don't want to do it again. So that's why pick 28, first, second, third round, all defensive linemen, edge or some type of edge linebacker or some type of D tackle.
You wouldn't go O-line, one of those picks?
Maybe. If somebody's sitting there, yeah. But pick the 28th pick has to be a defensive lineman. Has to be.
I agree.
Now the other positions,
Now let me ask you this: does it have to be a defensive lineman if you was to get a Khalil Mack, a Bosa, or a Hendricks? You still add that depth
because they're short term. I'm only signing them to 1 year, one deal. So it may be a 2 or 3 year deal. But if I draft this guy, I'm under control for him for 5 years, 6 years. I can control his salary and keep him under wraps. Mm-hmm. If you pay these other guys, man, it's going to cost. Trey is going to cost you some money.
Yeah.
Okay. Trey's
starting point for him would probably be at least, Max Crosby got 33 or 35 a year. Trey would probably, the starting would be 28.
I was about to say,
the low end.
Trey, you probably looking at, if on a good thing, let's say you get him for 3 year, $80 million, and you got to pay $50 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
So you're on the hook for him for 3 years. That's why you got to draft all these people. That's why when you look at the Eagles are set. The Eagles' defense is where the Lions' offense is. Mm-hmm. They all under the team control. They got these guys. They can lock them up for a long time.
Speaking of the Eagles, do we try to get Slay back over here?
No.
Can we get Slay? No. Do we need Slay?
You re-signed Carlton Davis.
I think Slay is better than Davis.
And
he stay healthy.
You want to know why the Eagles secondary was so good?
Because they had a front four.
There it is,
right there.
I mean, this.
I about that during the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl.
I used to laugh when people talked about the MSU no-fly zone. They got all the hype, and I'm like, what y'all fail to realize? They have 4 NFL D linemen on that line, including Malik McDowell was there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Malik McDowell,
right? But you had a bunch of guys on that D line. Yeah. If I can rush 4 and drop 7, the corners and safeties look great.
Yeah.
Because I'm flooding the field.
Yeah.
I'm only rushing 4. I don't have to blitz. I don't have to do any of that stuff. So that's why I said I'm only bringing in D linemen and fast linebackers. I'm not worried about my corners. You drafted 2 young ones. Let them go out there and do their job. You got Branch. Let them go out there and do their job, but make their job easier. If I got to cover for 5 seconds, no corner's going to be able to hold it on to a receiver for 5 seconds. 3 seconds or less, I look like an all-pro.
Jack Campbell and Anzalone not fast enough for you?
No. Anzalone he's the fan favorite. But, I mean, I'm sure Lions fans remember Brock Purdy shaking him out his shoes. It was those two.
Head up.
Anzalone makes the tackle. Okay, everybody wanted to blame the receiver, Reynolds, for the drop passes and all of that. Anzalone makes that tackle. I think it was a 3rd down play.
Win the Super Bowl.
And now they're only up 3, and you give the ball back with a chance to either tie it or win it. He got shook out his shoes.
Yeah.
Purdy hit him with a little shimmy, and he's on ice skates. Yeah. He's slipping and falling. He picks up the 1st down. They scored a touchdown. They go up by 10 rather than punting the ball back to you. So I say that to say, that's why I said D lineman, fast line. Like Jack Campbell, I would have took Nolan Smith. Now, Nolan Smith didn't play in the Super Bowl because he was hurt. I would have took Nolan Smith, guy out of Georgia. He was available, but they took Jack Campbell instead. But you could have took Nolan.
Yeah.
You could have brought him off the edge. He's just got more speed. I mean, Campbell looked like, he was an Iowa linebacker. He was a Big Ten linebacker. He was good.
Solid.
Nolan Smith was an SEC linebacker.
Game changer.
Sideline to sideline.
Yeah. Talk a little Pistons with you. What do you think the key of their success has been? I mean, right now sitting in the 6th spot, firmly in the playoffs this year. What do you think the key to their success has been this year?
They really, they care. The biggest thing is you got a coach who wants to be here. No offense to Monty, but Monty Williams didn't want the job. They asked him a couple times, and they kept raising the stakes. And you know what? We all would do that. You pay me enough money, fine. I'll come in and turn the lights on and off. I don't want to. But
Exactly what it was.
you gonna pay me this much
Still
money?
paying.
Right. I was like, okay. But yeah, his heart wasn't here. It never was. It's something because he had a sick wife. And I understand that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was pretty much she told him, hey, go make that money. I'll be here. You got enough money to fly back and see me. Honey, it's all right because you can't do nothing but sit here and worry me to death anyway. So this will get your mind off of it. But he never fully bought in. The other thing, the team is bought in. The team cares. When the Pistons go out there and play, you don't have to worry about load management. You don't have to worry about no diva. Cade Cunningham, if you buy tickets to a Pistons game, they all playing. And if they not playing, they are legitimately hurt. You like Jay Nivey, he's hurt.
Right.
He's not sitting there in a suit talking about what party I'm going to tonight. He's hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing to their success is they're taking advantage because the rest of the league is not like them. The rest of the league is all about just, see me when the playoffs come. They're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to go far in the playoffs, but this is big that they're going to make the playoffs because now it's going to make Detroit attractive to maybe getting another piece to the puzzle. And you'll see, whether you could go and get a Lauri Markkanen or you can go out there and get a trade for a Devin Booker and bring somebody else here to really take you to that next level.
If the season started, playoffs started right now, their matchup would be the Knicks.
They do.
I don't see them beating the Knicks.
You may have.
But if you push the Knicks to 6 or 7 games.
I was about to say, now, and I think you could probably get to 6 games, maybe a 7th game, because New York's known to choke away some games.
Yeah, but I think the difference is going to be with the Knicks, their ability to take Cade Cunningham out of the game. Like Denver did a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Took the ball out of his hands and won the game. And nobody else was able to really produce at the level that he was able to produce. And so those matchups, when you got that kind of depth, those long defenders.
And that's why they got to get a second.
They can bother Cade.
That's why they got to get a second person in here. And because unfortunately, him and Ivy, they don't work well together. Both are good players. But remember, when Cade was gone, Ivy was the man. And Ivy was playing well. But something happens when they come together. Neither one really does anything, and they just average.
Yeah.
But you take away the other one, and they shine. So
do you, when Ivy comes back?
I trade him.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Yeah, he would be a part of a trade that if you could ship him off and you could pick up some people. Here's one that's, you may be able to get him for dirt cheap, and I don't know how motivated he would be, but the Pelicans may just flat out cut Zion.
I'm good.
No,
I'm
but
good.
see,
I'm
no.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay,
Zion,
no,
man.
but hold on.
He don't play.
Okay, does he not play? Zion never wanted to be in New Orleans. You saw that from day one when they drafted him. He thought he was going to be a Knick. He never bought into it. And it went from being a passion to a job. We've all had that job you hate. So what you show up right before you got to, you try to leave as early as possible, and you don't want to be there. That's what Zion is.
I love my job.
That's what Zion is. I think Zion, it may be a change of scenery where he's not there. And here's the other thing about, no offense, you the Pistons. You gonna have to take a chance on somebody. I mean, think about this.
Why you don't like Zion?
Well, one, he don't play. Two, I'm not sure he wants to be an NBA basketball player. Forget about whether or not he wants to be in New Orleans. Does he want to play NBA basketball, and does he want to be great? He is physically imposing. He's athletic. He can get his shot against anybody. He can score the basketball. For all intents and purposes, he's been a good teammate. He's unavailable. And your availability is a skill. I need you to play every night.
But like Rico
I need
just
you
said,
to at least play 75 games.
You know who you kind of described? And he's revered in this city. Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed Wallace was getting kicked out of games left and right.
Yeah.
Rasheed Wallace was this. Rasheed Wallace played on a bunch. Rasheed Wallace was a knucklehead. And then Rasheed Wallace came here and he became Sheed.
Yeah.
And we loved him. Ball don't lie. We loved him.
got a point there.
He got a point.
When she was in Portland, he was a cancer. He even admitted that. So a change of scenery could do.
Because you in
Zion.
Portland. You in Portland and there's nothing to do with Have you ever been to Portland?
You don't want to.
Well,
Have you ever been to Portland?
I've never.
There's
been
nothing to do in Portland.
I've never been to Portland, but I just don't have a good feeling about Zion. I don't disagree that he probably needs a change of scenery.
But here's the beauty.
I don't know if it's in Detroit.
If they cut him, you're not locked into that contract. You come up with your own contract and make it incentive laden.
Yeah. Somebody will take a chance on it. I mean, for sure.
Here's the kick. Why not here? Because you're not that good to turn down somebody like Zion. You're not. Yeah, he's flawed, but it's that hard look in the mirror. Okay, you're not gonna get Beyonce, but you may get.
I'll tell you one.
You may get Kelly.
I'll tell you one thing: the strip clubs in Detroit going up because as soon as Zion touched down, he going straight to 8 Mile.
No, here's the thing.
But here's the thing, and I kind of agree with Rico.
I don't know, man.
Once you get into an environment where we're a young team, he can blend right in. He's a superstar, and if the light don't click on, like, hey, we got something here. We can win. We can win it all here.
Here's your incentive.
Sooner or later, it gotta click.
Here's your
gotta say
he's also got to want to be here.
No, but it's the incentive of, hey man, this city will embrace you. I mean, heck, once again, different sport, but Jared Goff. They chanting his names in grocery store. This cat got kicked out of L.A. because they was like, yeah, you can go. We want Stafford. You'll never win anything.
You took us to a Super Bowl, but you can still go.
We don't think you're that good. Change the scenery. Detroit will embrace you. You make that incentive laden. You screw up, you gone. You do well, you're going to get paid. And then that next time, they ain't paying nobody right now. They paying Cade. That's it. So we can break the bank on you if you do right.
How many teams Chauncey played for before he came?
And I was about to say, look at the going to work Pistons. They might as well have been called the Island of Misfit Toys. You had you had Chauncey.
Ben.
Chauncey
Ben was a throw-in. Ben was a throwaway.
Yeah.
They didn't. Don Amici is who the Pistons wanted. And Don Amici had a no trade clause and said, I ain't going to Detroit. So they threw in, well, what about this Ben Wallace cat? Fine, we'll take him and Chucky Atkins. Fine, we'll take those two.
Yeah.
Rip Hamilton? Rip was a bust.
Nobody wanted to Rip.
Rip was a bust in Washington because he was like, well, you ain't the cat we thought we drafted coming out of college. Tayshaun was an old head. Yeah, well, he played 4 years at Kentucky. If he was any good, he would have left 3 years ago.
Yeah.
They was the Island of Misfit Toys, and they all came together and they won. I think if you, Zion, look, I'm just saying, be open to love. Okay? Don't just shut it down. Go out on a couple dates first.
Yeah.
You may find out y'all got something in common.
Open to love or ready to
I keep open mind on Zion. I don't know, man.
He would have to come knowing that he ain't the guy too.
If he gets cut, I think that's gonna be a shock to his pride because
he would have to know he ain't.
You've kind of hit bottom, and now because you ain't gonna never see that $350 million bonus. You're not gonna get that salary because you started over. That's what basically what the Mavs did to Luka. They was like, all right, the ultimate F you. We're gonna trade you, so you'll never see that $350 million.
And when you get cut, it says something about the inner you. Like it's something you got to prove. If you got any substance about you, if you get cut, you want to prove your worth. You want to say, I'm better than what they think I am, and I got something to prove.
And let's be real.
We'll see. If it's a motivated Zion, we'll see.
And Detroit,
we'll see.
Detroit is almost like witness relocation. The media ain't gonna be hard on you like they would be in New York, or like they would be in LA. Hey, it's Detroit, man. Come on.
Well, the Broncos bros gonna tell you apart. We'll tell you apart over here.
They gave J-Mo a pass all year long. He screwed up all year long, and ain't nobody reported on nothing.
Yeah, most of his stuff was off the field, but yeah.
But I'm just saying, it's in New York, man, you sneeze, and you got 50 reporters outside saying what kind of Kleenex you use.
Well, that's
you
true.
spreading cold.
That's true.
Right.
Well, let's play a little game called This or That. And we got some topics, more Detroit, Michigan related topics. So have a little fun with all of us on our 50th episode. So let's play a little This or That. And many of these things we've kind of touched on during this show, but definitely have talked about on other shows. So This or That, this is for everybody. The going to work Pistons or the Bad Boys? What you taking?
I started off, I got to go with those Bad Boys, man, because for one, we had so much depth on that team. We had a great coach in Daly. We had a great leader in Isaiah. And we were just physically and mentally, we would just drain you, man. I can remember the Pistons winning games 74-59 or vice versa. So, those Pistons were something special, man. They brought us back-to-back. Should have been 3 in a row. Phantom call against the Lakers in 87.
88.
88, I'm sorry, 88. Those Pistons, man, with Joe Dumars, we all know who they were. Vinny coming off the bench, the microwave. And that was the first time we really had a winning pro sports teams besides those 84 Tigers, because, the Lions hadn't done anything up to that point. So nothing against the 05 Pistons, but 04 Pistons, but
you just disrespecting them across the
going to work Pistons,
05
man,
Pistons when she left his man.
Going to work Pistons, they were good, but them Bad Boys they still talk about the Bad Boys to this day.
Nah, I'd take the going to work Pistons. I like the Bad Boys, but if they played in this mythical game, I think that the going to work Pistons would get it done. I think that, basically Rodman and Ben Wallace would kind of be the wash to each other. Neither one of them scored a ton of points. But I think I look at better defenders, whether it was Tayshaun, whether it was Lindsey Hunter and Mike James coming off the bench. I look at what they had. I think that team, and talk about the Phantom Fall. I mean, it was Rasheed's knucklehead play where he
left Ori
wide open. But I think Rasheed and Lambeer, I'm going to give the edge to Rasheed in that point. And I'm going to say them as well because when the league then comes back and changes the rules so that teams won't be like them, and they made the game more free-flowing because they said that the Pistons was, too handsy and their defense was too good. When you got to change the rules on somebody, that means you got something right there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take, I like what you're saying, but I'm going to take the going to work just because I think that they would have been able to, it would have been a nice 7-game series. But I think that in the end, Chauncey would have been the MVP.
So I'm going to go Bad Boys. And the reason I'm going to go Bad Boys, you mentioned scores like 74, 69, things like that. Basketball is about scoring. And Bad Boys is going to score. They was going to score. And 04, they put the clamps on guys, but, they got shut down a lot too, and they wasn't scoring the basketball to me like they should. So for me, it's Bad Boys because I knew these guys was going to score. I knew the 3 or 4 guys that was going to put the ball in the net. And I just don't see that with the going to work Pistons.
Good point.
See, that's what's
point.
But they didn't play defense back then. So,
I like that.
True.
I mean, heck, I remember when the Pistons team scored like 140-some points against Denver one night in regulation. Like,
yeah.
Yo, they still got the highest scoring in regulation. Like
right. So, but I do think that when the league said, yeah, y'all play defense too good, so we can't allow this to happen. Defense travels. Defense travels in any era.
Yeah.
Defense. So that's why. Once again, no disrespect to y'all, but
Right.
I'm going with if you ain't learned nothing about now in this last hour, I'm all about defense.
Well, you're all about the bad boys were defense.
Nah, they was just a bunch of thugs.
They played defense on the greatest player. That's what changed the game. That's what changed the rules. It was the bad boys.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I'm going to go with the going to work Pistons too. And the reason why I'm going with the going to work Pistons is because they essentially came out of nowhere and won an NBA championship. They were about a year ahead of schedule before people thought that they would compete at that level. And they beat Shaq and Kobe in their prime. And Karl Malone was on that team and Gary Payton was also on that team too.
Chasing rings.
Didn't have home court advantage at all, but to go and beat the Lakers, and then what happened after they beat the Lakers, that team was dismantled. So I'm going with the going to work Pistons over the bad boys. Now the bad boys earned their right and were next in line after beating up on the Celtics and finally getting over that hump, beating off Mike and the Bulls, and getting through the Eastern Conference. They were essentially next up. They had gotten there, lost, got back, won, got back again and won. And so they earned the right to be there. So this or that, Barry's retirement or Calvin Johnson's retirement, which one is the most surprising?
Barry's retirement, because at the time, Calvin, man, the team was awful. Calvin was hurt. Calvin was beat up. Calvin had no help whatsoever. I mean, it was almost like they just stuck him out there, and he was just, you might as well put a clown shoes and a big red nose, because they just paraded him out there in front of the kids and everything. We got Calvin Johnson. Barry, team was good. And Barry just said right before training camp, because when the news came out, it was like, wait, he just faxed it to the Wichita paper. Like, who uses a fax machine? And most people didn't know what Wichita was. Hey, I'm out. I'm done. And never came back. Ever. It wasn't a holdout. And that team was so ill-prepared. Barry's retirement set the Lions back a long way. That really, I remember the years of James Stewart and the Ron Rivers and all of that.
It was bad.
I mean, they really only came back now with these recent running backs of having somebody that people fear.
Yeah, it was
so
bad.
Barry hurt them to the bone. So I'm gonna go Barry.
I'm gonna go Barry also, and it's more personal with me because me and him and Jess, you're a little bit younger than us. We grew up with Barry. You know, Barry was, I can remember my grandmother coming into my room talking about getting ready for church on Sunday. And I'm like, my stomach hurt. I'm not going to church because I want to see Barry. I'm not going to church today. So, and it, like Rico said, it was a shock, man. It was just like, you know, I'm 56 and I think Barry might be 56, 57. He was at Oklahoma State in 88 and all of that stuff like that. I was coming out of high school in 87. So it's like, man, I grew up with this guy. It's like we were brothers.
Yeah.
You know, and just I wanted him to get that record so bad, man. I wanted him to be the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. And like Rico said, the Lions had some good teams at that time. I think they had won the NFC one year.
They went to the
playoffs and all that. And when he walked away from the game, I just thought it was just a joke, man. I thought this ain't real.
I mean, you think Calvin Johnson?
Came back from it.
You think 0-16?
Yeah. 0-16 with Calvin. Mm-hmm. You know, I love Calvin Johnson, Megatron, but Barry, man, I'm still hurt.
Yeah, for me, it was Barry, and I'll be quick with it. It's he left so much on the table. We think, you know, as far as like you said, the record, he still has some years in front of him. So for me, it's Barry. Calvin, like you said, coming off the 0-16. We saw his body getting beat up, you know, what it took for him to get on the field on Sundays. You know, you could kind of sense that it was coming, but you hoped it didn't. But with Barry, he just left so much more to be desired, man.
I mean, the team did both of them dirty, but they really did Calvin dirty.
Yeah.
They didn't help him at all.
took money from Calvin and all of that. So yeah.
As the resident Cowboy fan, I thought you'd be glad that Barry left.
Well, I knew what my
Because when Barry left, he gave Emmett the opportunity to be the number one rusher in NFL history.
Still.
And then I think Emmett played about 3-4 more years than Barry.
I was about to say at that point he was an Arizona Cardinal.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Barry too. So this next one, the Michigan State rivalry or Cass King rivalry.
Okay,
Which one is the most fierce?
I really thought that was a misprint, but I'm gonna let y'all go. It's like hammer or the nail.
Because I'm more up close and personal being here in the city of Detroit to see that Cass King rivalry, and and I went to McKenzie High School, but that Cass King rivalry, man, I know guys from both schools who graduated from both schools, and it's tough, man. I mean, you're sitting over here at King behind the gate. You got guys, Nick James, Donnell Dickerson, the twins, all those guys that played at King. They don't even go inside the gate to watch the game, but when they play at Cass, same when they come over to Cass. So that rivalry, man, is. I hate to say it, it's unmatched because of what we have going on here in the city with lack of PSL schools that we had back in the day. We had 28, 29 high schools, 30 high schools, but I would have to say Cass King. I would have to go with Cass King.
Wow. I'm going Michigan State, man. I don't know why. I'm just going to go Michigan State. I'm not using Cass King for this.
Bro, Cass King is something. I mean, the fights and everything, off the field, on and off the court, which is funny because these are supposedly the two smartest schools in Detroit. And they act like some straight up wannabe gangsters when they play each other. But Michigan State, that's national. I can go walk the streets in LA or Chicago and I can see a Michigan person, automatically, I don't like you. I'm on the road. I see somebody with a little M on their license plate. Nah, I'm cutting you off, bro. Nope. Can I get in? Nope. Nope. It's personal. I mean, to the fact of, it's the hatred, man, and the thing about Cass and King, if you got stake in the game, if you went to Cass, you went to King, it means something. Michigan State, you ain't have to be on either campus. You just chose a side, and you're going to live with that side, and you're going to die with them colors like Crips and Bloods. Yeah. You do not switch sides ever. They said, D'Antonio said a long time ago, in this state, either you green or you blue. That's it. Across the board. Now, you can have neighbors, and you can be cordial, but it's only going so far. Because at the end of the game, when that game is over, I'm probably not going to call you for about a day or two, okay? Probably not going to have that barbecue that next day, okay? That's just how it is. No, that's. I mean, you saw it spilled over when they had that fight in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Like, that was some straight up, that's how much they don't like each other.
Well, for me, it's easy. I'm going Cass King. It's personal. Michigan State didn't recruit me, so they out of it.
But see, like I said, you got skin in the game.
I got skin in the game. Neither one of them recruited me. It's Cass King. I've been a part of that rivalry as a coach. I've been a part of that rivalry as a parent. It's easy. It's Cass King. It's East Lafayette versus Grand River. It gets crazy. It's crazy. U of M. So the 89 U of M championship team with Glenn Rice, Lloyd Vaught, Terry Mills versus MSU 2000 team with Mateen Cleaves and the Flintstones.
I'm going to pick Michigan State. I think we just had a conversation. But I'm about to hit you with some facts of why I'm going to pick Michigan State. Up until UConn last year broke the record. But Michigan State, when Michigan State went on that run in 2000, they beat teams by the largest point differential. Every game. No game was close. I think the closest when they played Wisconsin, that was the fourth time they played them that year. But every team that they played, they beat by double digits. And it was kind of like this year's team. They would be down, but then by the end, you looked up at that scoreboard like, we just lost by 18 points? Yeah, you just lost by 18 points. They suffocated you. And to really put in perspective, Jason Richardson was on that team, only played 8 minutes a game on that team. That team was deep. It was loaded. They played D. And yes, I know Glenn was great. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not taking anything away from that team. But up until UConn last year, what they did in 2000 was historic because they went through everybody in the tournament like a hot knife through butter. So that's why. It ain't just because I don't like them. I also got facts behind it.
What y'all got? 89 or 2000? 89 Wolverines, 2000 Spartans.
You know what? Both of those teams were great teams. I love Glenn Rice, Terry Mills, Sean Higgins. You had the Flintstones, man. That's that name in itself. It was like the Flintstones. They from Flint. So. Oh man, that's a tough one, man. But I'm gonna go with those Flintstones, man. I'm gonna go with the Flintstones just for the simple fact they're hardcore kids. They had a great point guard in Mateen Cleaves, and the consistency, like we talked about with Coach Izzo over these last 30 years, man. You had inner city kids on that team that bought in to that system, and I'm gonna go with the Sparties. I'm a Sparty.
I'm going U of M on this one, man. To me, they had some dudes. They had dudes, man, across the board, man. I thought them guys could play. They could play anywhere, play against anyone, and didn't care who it was. And it had to develop, going through that tournament. But Rice, what he did, man.
Oh, he went on a roll. He was incredible.
Off the ball. And again, basketball is about scoring points. I'm taking Glenn Rice and them guys.
I'm going U of M. The starter jacket was sweeter. The starter jacket was cold.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I mean that blue and gold with the Nikes to match. Nah, man, I'm going U of M.
That was the one. But was who hit the free throws?
Ramil Robinson. And they beat Seton Hall in overtime.
See, you needed free throws.
Oh man,
State was winning the title so bad that a future billionaire got into the game to shoot the last shot.
That team was cold. Don't get me wrong. That 2000 Michigan State team was cold. But I got to go with U of M. They took us on a ride because they essentially came out of nowhere.
They lost their head coach.
They lost the head coach. Yep. Steve Fisher, interim coach. I mean, those storylines. I'm going with U of M.
But see, I like the State because they won it at the Palace. They played 2 games at the Palace that year because they wasn't supposed to be the 1 seed, but Kenyon Martin broke his leg. And I think it's for Cincinnati, whatever tournament, whatever conference, he snaps his leg. Cincinnati was supposed to be the 1 seed, and they was like, we can't give it to Cincinnati. Guess we got to give it to Michigan State. And they ended up playing close to home. And then they got to play at the Palace, and they got to clinch everything at the Palace, and that place was packed for that game. They knocked off Marcus Pfizer and Iowa State.
Iowa State, yeah. Last one, and probably the toughest one. The Lions losing the last 2 seasons in the playoffs, or the Fab Five losing 2 years in a row in a national championship game. Which one is the most disappointing loss?
I'm going Lions. I mean, we were close a year before last of going to the Super Bowl. How we lost it, up 17. This year, getting smoked out by Washington, coming in with a 15-2 record. The 5-5, you never seen nothing like it. They changed the culture, but the Lions broke hearts, and that's where I'm at. The Lions, you broke my heart. I'm going with the Lions.
That's actually a good.
That's a good one.
Question. Jay, you go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say Fab Five, man. Fab Five for me.
Yeah, my heart was bleeding when they lost.
Yeah, they lost. They lost to Duke and Carolina, man.
Time out, coach.
Yeah, and the way they lost, and the expectations that the brass that they show. It was Fab Five, man. That was more disappointing in this area, I think.
Well, you're a Cowboy fan.
I was
Just saying.
What you got?
What you got, Rico?
I remember I'm yelling at the screen like before the timeout. He traveled. Bringing up the court. I'm like, we gonna act like what y'all got WWF referees out here? All of New Orleans saw the travel except for him. So Rasheed was right. Ball don't lie. I'm going to go with the Lions. As much as I want to say Michigan, but that Fab Five team, I like to call them. They was the greatest team that won nothing. They didn't win the Big Ten. When they was when they were good, they never won the Big Ten. Yeah. So
Ohio State,
greatest team that won nothing. But the Lions, and that to me is the contributing factor. The Lions, because year one, you were not only 30 minutes away, you made crucial coaching mistakes. The one time, like a coach that never kicks field goals, kicked the field goal right before halftime instead of going for a touchdown and going up like 24 points. It was only 17. Or 20 points, whatever it was. He could have went up more, but decided to be conservative. And then, from the C.J. Gardner-Johnson waving to the crowd, and they started celebrating. They thought they were going to the Super Bowl. And it was just like, guys, it's not that easy. And they found out the hard way it's not. Combine that together with this year, where I like to say at the end of that game, it became like a Rocky training montage where you out there eating the raw eggs and you chasing chickens and you running the beach with Apollo Creed. And everything that they did in this offseason was to not only get back to that game, but to make sure that game would be here in Detroit. You went 15-2. You did everything you were supposed to do. You ran away. And then when you got challenged by Minnesota in the final game of the year, you bitch slapped them and said, whose house? Our house. You 15-2, number one overall seed, and you let a rookie come in here wearing a skull cap indoors and beat you.
Why you reminding me of this?
I don't even think you need to respond to it now. It's a wrap.
My job is to paint pictures. You got the picture?
This is horrible.
You got the picture?
If turning the knife was a person, it's that guy.
No, but that's why.
Right.
That's why, because the Fab Five was, it was a once in a lifetime type of thing. But everything about from that game in San Francisco to last year was all about one focus. And now everybody stayed together. Your coordinators came back. You took care of the people. Your fans sold out other arenas, other stadiums for you. And you let a rookie walk in here and beat you.
Traditionally, we normally end the podcast on a good note.
You put the questions out here.
I wasn't expecting.
We weren't expecting.
I wasn't expecting you to bring up all these different pieces.
You have,
but
you know what? You had 49 shows to prepare yourself.
That is true.
You gonna put this on here? Okay, you know what? I'm sorry.
It's gonna be quick for me. It comes down to expectations. Who expected 5 freshmen, 5 sophomores to make it to the championship game? We all expected the Lions to make it to a Super Bowl. Most disappointing has got to be the Lions. It's got to be the Lions. I cried when U of M lost to North Carolina the second time. Man, I was beside myself when the Lions lost to San Francisco. And it turned right back around and lost to Washington.
Yeah.
It's got to be the Lions to me. Most disappointing.
I woke up at the house when Michigan lost to North Carolina. Celebrating. And I woke up.
Rivalry is real.
I woke up my neighbors when San Francisco won the game.
Oh, he is a Niner guy. You a Cowboy Niner.
Okay.
I woke up the neighbors when that happened. I was sweating that like, I've never. There's only one other time I was dreading to go to work if the Lions would have beat the Niners, because I would have had to go out to that Super Bowl, and I did not want to go. I didn't want to go on the air on Monday. I didn't. And
That was tough, man.
Yeah.
It was just tough.
and then the only other time was Harbaugh's first game at Michigan against Michigan State, and it was the trouble with the snap game. Because I had talked so much trash. I was working at 105.1 at the time. I talked, we beating, y'all. And they was losing. I'm like, man, I'm going to have to eat so much crow.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there just shaking my head, like imagining, like, I'm just going to have to take it like a man, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm watching the play happen.
And then
Quiet as kept. I ran right out I was on the sideline. I ran out on the field. I was celebrating right there with him. I was so happy.
And that's the way we'll end our 50th episode.
50, baby.
Congratulations.
Man, Rico, appreciate
We got
you
50
coming
more
out,
in
man.
this too.
Yeah.
So I'm back for 100?
You back for 100.
You back for 100. Lock it down.
50 more to go.
I appreciate that.
Another episode of the Brown Couch Bros.
Boom, boom, boom.
Like, share, subscribe, and we are out of here.
Peace.
OW.